Hi, Lawrence McKendall with Scooberlicious Ultimate, and I've got a fantastic guest today, Jenn Pashley, Barrier Disc Youth Coordinator and Coach, publisher with Skyd Magazine. 20 articles, actually 25 to be specific, over the course of a few years. And so we're going to talk about a lot of topics here. And this is somebody who's really important for the Ultimate Frisbee community in the Bay Area, because she's out there really in the front lines, expanding the base, bringing and introducing the sport to the youth, and actually coaching at the level of U16, right?
U17.
U17 girls. So we're going to talk about all things, but what I'd like to start off with, right now you're not here to smell this icy hot around. Actually, it's just me. I pulled a hamstring setting up. But Jenn just got back from playing the Mixed Masters, the inaugural year, right?
Yeah, first year of Mixed Masters.
She came back from Nationals and with Bridge Club, right?
San Francisco Bridge Club. Yep.
Okay, so how'd it go?
I went pretty well. We placed 6th in the nation, which was exciting, and learned a lot of cool things about playing with new friends, and I had a lot of fun. So it was a good experience.
I had the opportunity to play against San Francisco Bridge Club when they were playing up in Santa Rosa, and I was playing with a nice group of players from Sacramento, and we proceeded to get our butt kicked. And they just had wave after wave after wave of just great players. I was like, they're on the team, oh, and they're on the team, and they're on the team. So they came with a really good team, but I want to point out because that you had a lot of good teams in Colorado. I mean, and that was the thing that you had to show up as a team.
There was some absolutely phenomenal talent at Nationals for sure, and it's great to see for the very first year, seeing so many amazing teams really battle it out with games that were super close. So it was absolutely fun, and a really great opportunity to finally play with some of the folks that I have always played against.
Very nice. That's always fun. That's always satisfying when you're like, I've played against you the whole time. It's really rewarding. So that was good. And so I remember when we met sort of for the pre-interview, as we were leaving, you go, it's nice to go back to Nationals again. She was like sort of a parting dig at me. Like, well, what do you mean? But you went to Nationals while you were in Arizona.
Yes,
okay.
I went in 08, 09, and 10.
And that was what?
Barrio?
Yeah, and that was for it's okay, 3 times. So you were captaining as well?
I captained in 2009 when we made our best run at Nationals, which was also 6th place. So apparently I can't break 6th seed at Nationals.
So let's talk about this. I'm going to adjust the camera just a little bit. Tell me about there was a friend of mine who was looking to get into the Grand Masters Ultimate, and he was going to be in a team that was going to probably be beat frequently, but he didn't care. He wanted the ability to be amongst the best players in the country and have that level of energy. What can you comment about being at Nationals that you can't replicate during a Winter League game or a regular club season game?
No, it's phenomenal to get beat by phenomenal athletes and players, and it's a huge growing experience. You don't get that experience anywhere else. I mean, here in the Bay, it's very unique where we have some incredibly talented, amazing players that play in summer leagues and play in San Francisco Winter League. And you can get beat by them all the time here, but especially when I was living in Arizona, there wasn't very much opportunity for very, very strong competition. And so Nationals was a great growth experience for me. So it was great to go back.
Intensity. Yeah. Let me just clarify. My point wasn't to say that this guy he was just so happy to go to Nationals to get that experience, that intensity level. It must be equally satisfying when you're winning at that level. When you're beating the best. I mean, it's even more amazing. Like, yes, we're bringing it.
I mean, I love winning. It's it's such a silly point, but I absolutely love winning, and it's great when you're winning at the highest level and you're doing it with spirit and fun and with love of your teammates. So
we're going to get into that. I like that.
Cool.
So let's talk about, you mentioned, why on earth would I play this stupid game? Let's go back to when you were introduced to the game.
Yes,
because you're championing the game, so you've come full circle from like being dragged to play pickup and introduced to the game, and now here you are. So what was that like when you were introduced to the game?
When I was in high school, I was super into ballet and tap and dance, and I did theater, and I had this boyfriend in high school who had sort of picked up with a few of his friends to go play in the park, and he insisted that I join him, and my response was, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. Why on earth would you ever make me play this sport? You will never see me in a million years do it. Of course, I sort of ate my foot with that, because the first time I picked up a disc and got to throw it to friends in a park, like, something just seemed so cool about it. Cool. And it was both the strategy and the friendship and the spirit, and I just couldn't stop. And at that point, especially being a 17-year-old, knowing that I was never going to be a professional dancer, I was looking for this void to fill. And so when I went to college, I just decided Ultimate was that thing to do, and I just never stopped playing. So yeah, I've definitely gone full circle from being adamantly against the sport and thinking it was silly, to now doing all of this stuff with Ultimate, and like coaching other folks, and hopefully not thinking that it's, having other people think that it's a dumb sport, because it's not.
No, it's not. It was such a great quote from our takeaway, like, oh, that's hilarious. That's great. And lots of people could probably say some permutation of that, like, really, this is not a real sport. So I thought it was pretty funny. So let's go back when you mentioned about the spirit in the community. Let's talk about the community of Ultimate Frisbee. What's that like from your perspective, since you're championing the cause? What did you see back then, and what do you see now?
Back then, and still to this day, it's family. Like, it's so amazing to be able to fly or drive to a brand new place and look up on Facebook or where, some forum and say, hey, Frisbee friends, I'm in this area. I don't know who you are. I need a place to crash. I need someone to take me around or give me suggestions. And 5 seconds later, you have all of these folks who don't know who you are, say that they're willing to, like, share their couch with you, or take you out to dinner, or show you around town, or give you advice on what apartment to buy. I mean, it's insane how tight-knit we are and how much of a family we are, and that has held true from day one when I first started playing to now.
The Bury a Disc has one of those websites on Facebook that people are saying, I'm new in the area, and that actually raises up the value of the community when you're seeing people offer jobs and houses and being tour guides. They are very opening, and that's a higher level than just simply the community that happens on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And so that's really cool. I'm glad you mentioned that. So let's talk about what you're doing with Bury a Disc.
Yeah.
I mean, you're doing a lot of things out there, and we were talking about gender equity, spirit of the game, gender equality. There's a number of things. So let's just rattle. What do you see as Bury a Disc? What's happening with what you're doing?
Yeah. So I am the youth outreach program manager, and my job is to basically introduce the sport to folks who have never played before or may not have access to the sport. And so it's my mission to get more and more people to buy into what we do and to sort of learn how to love the sport and be lifelong players, like what happened to me. And a big piece of that is making sure that there's more opportunities for girls to play. Right now, there is, in the adult realm, according to some stats for USAU, there's 70% of their membership are men and 30% are women. In youth, it's a little bit more divided, with 75% of youth players being boys and 25% being girls. And here in the Bay, it's even more so, where we have about 16% of our members being girls. And 16.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's my mission, especially, being a female player, is I want more girls and women to play.
Yep. That's a good point.
And we want to make sure that everyone feels welcome and feels like they can be a part of this community and be a part of this sport. So that's my job, essentially.
That's 16 can only get higher. So
yeah.
What is some of those initial approaches to increase those averages, those percentages?
Yeah, the big thing is providing more playing opportunities. A lot of girls feel more welcome and invited when they're in girls-only playing opportunities, and so we've done some Learn to Play programs, which are girls-only. We've done some girls-only summer camps. We now have, there used to only be one girls team in the Bay, California role. Now this year we had 4. We had 3 play at high school states.
Great.
So it's not only creating and providing single gender opportunities. It's also being able to let them play in mixed and open divisions as well, and just give them a wealth of opportunity to play and get them excited about the sport.
So when you've had the opportunity to talk to women at different levels, what type of feedback do you get at their view of ultimate frisbee and why they're playing?
The biggest piece is community. Women and girls play the sport because of the sense of value that they get from their teammates, from the feeling that they are a part of something bigger. I wrote an article for Skyd about why women play, and every answer was because of the community. And you don't necessarily see that with male players. Some of it's absolutely the community. Some of it's, I love the sport. I love the athleticism. I love the way the disc moves. And I mean, just a huge number of women and girls are here because of the people who are here. And so that's like the biggest piece, and that's what's most important. So I'm going to sort of swing back around when you were talking about nationals and you were trying to get in gear with mixed. Yeah.
So you play on a women's only team.
Yes.
Okay, what's that name?
Fab.
Okay.
I play for Fab.
Okay, cool. Coached by Liz Penny.
By Liz Penny.
And now you've played for Alchemy last year. You played for Fab, and now you're in Bridge Club.
Yeah.
San Francisco Bridge Club. And what was that dynamic? Can you compare and contrast what that's like?
And this is my personal experience. I'm sure people have totally different views of this, but I think especially with mixed, for women, you get very, very good at one role. So I was a side handler for most of my time when I was playing for Barrio and when I was playing for Alchemy. And I got really great at like that one thing. And with women's, that just opens up. You become like overall better skilled player because you can play different roles, but it may not give you the specialty necessarily.
Right.
And there's this other dynamic of like, there's this huge spectrum in mixed where, look at San Francisco Bridge Club, where we had one of our female players who's phenomenally fast and amazing, who is shorter than I. She must be like 4'11", maybe 5 foot. And then we have another male player who's 6'1", 6'2". Like, so you look at the spectrum of players and their skill set on a mixed team, and that isn't necessarily the same like spectrum that you see on a women's team or a men's team. So it's more complex, and everyone's trying to solve a puzzle on the field.
That's what you were saying before, which I thought was really cool, eloquently put. So yes, go ahead.
Trying to solve a puzzle on the field, and so it just makes it more complex. Like the puzzle is just more complex in mixed than it is that I found in women's, but equally satisfying, especially when you are able to solve that puzzle.
Yeah, no, that's well put. Yeah, I like how you said that. So we're going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to come back into the other elements of what you do. I wanted to talk to you about when you being an author of Skyd magazine. You're almost a therapist. I'm looking at the sort of things, you discuss grief, 5 stages of recovery, talk about fear of failure, becoming a better teammate, celebrating mistakes.
Yeah.
So was this self-exploration?
Yeah, a lot of it was writing on topics that sort of came out of trying out for Fury, which is still one of the best women's club teams in the nation, if not the world.
Word.
And and sort of like my own journey through figuring out who I am as a player and who I am as a part of the community, and also coaching and seeing what the future leaders of this sport are going to, who they're going to be, and where the sport's going to turn into. So, a lot of it was just self-reflection on that. So it was cool that Skyd gave me the opportunity to kind of like write what I wanted to write.
Yeah, they were well-written articles. They were really important, and they touched on a lot of topics. But I could sense that. This sort of establishes a baseline of where you are as a person. It's sort of telling people where you are and what you're drawing upon, and what makes gives you more perspective to what you're doing now with Bury a Disc.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was great for Skyd to sort of give me this sort of rookie who had never done anything like this a chance, and have more women writers talk about their experiences playing Ultimate. I think it was really great, and there's some other phenomenal female writers out there too that are doing great work.
Yeah.
That's really cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. So I wanted, before, if we run out of time, I hopefully can talk about some of these things, because I know when I first met you, you were coming off an injury, and I think maybe was that your first injury, the one you was with your hand?
No, not my first injury.
I was going to say, yeah, because that couldn't have been.
I had a stress fracture in my hip when I was trying out for Fury. I was actually running on it in the second weekend of tryouts, which was painful. And then, last year I broke my hand, which actually was not that painful, to be honest. I was more mad that I couldn't play because it didn't hurt than I was in the
you were wrapped up like a little bit of mummy out there, but you were out there playing. No, it was very impressive. So let's go back to as youth coordinator. Yeah. So, spirit of the game. Yeah. Where does that fall in? Because you mentioned a lot of times when we were talking, you sprinkle it in. It's very relevant in how you discuss the game. It's at the forefront of what you discuss. So how important is that? This sport wouldn't exist without spirit of the game. It doesn't work without spirit of the game. I mean, can you imagine playing without refs where everyone tries to cheat? Like, that's not fun. Yeah. So especially with our Learn to Play programs and other pieces, we really try and emphasize in our curriculum spirit of the game and like different aspects of the sport, that it's not just about trying to win, it's about trying to be your best on the field with your other teammates and with your opponents as well. So it's huge. It's so important, and we need everyone to, that's like the first thing that you teach for youth especially, is like, what is spirit of the game? How do you integrate it into a sport? Not how do you throw a flick? Which is equal, it's important to know how to throw a flick, but it doesn't work if someone's cheating. So let me ask you this: coaches, I coach high school, and I bumped up situations where it looks like there's a culture where spirit of the game is secondary or tertiary, where win at all cost is the sort of flavor. And again, I'm jumping to a conclusion. So my point is, I try to coach spirit of the game as a coach. Where's our role in spirit of the game on the sideline when the game is happening? Because you're letting the players play out, but where's the coach's responsibility during a game?
The big thing that I always emphasize to the girls that I coach is, as a coach, I am your dictionary. I am your rule book. I am a resource, but I'm not someone who's going to make active calls on the field. I can certainly tell you when you get off the field, like, hey, this situation happened, let's talk about, like, was it a dangerous play? Was it, a rule that you didn't quite understand? Like, let's make sure that we hash that out so that next time we can be better about it. But I'm not there to dictate how the game runs. I am there as a resource. So if you have a question about the rules, if you have a question about, a call or something, I can provide you, this is what the rule states, but it's up to the 14 players on the field to figure it out.
So you're essentially an observer.
Yeah, in some sense.
Okay.
In some sense, yeah.
And that's good, because there's been multiple discussions, and I thought there was one situation that happened last year that I played it out like this. I'm letting it play out, let the natural, let it, spirit of the game take its course, and we'll talk about it after. And the physicality of the game got so much, and players were put in danger, that I felt that I wanted to call a timeout and talk with the other coach, and go, you need to reel your guys back in. Yeah. But I let it, because I didn't want it. It came to a point where we didn't do it early. We started, and I didn't feel like I didn't want to do it later in the game when it wouldn't have as much impact. It would have come across negatively. So I was at odds, like, where do you as a coach come in for the health of the players? And you're hoping that they're mature enough to call their own fouls. So again, there was a conundrum.
I think if you have to ask yourself, should I call a timeout because of spirit issues, you should probably call a timeout.
Okay, that's a great thing.
Yeah,
that's great.
My husband says this all the time with like various, I call him up for advice, and he's like, if you have to ask me that, you know what the answer is.
And that's exactly. And I would, on a number of occasions, I sort of answer a question with a question the same way. So thank you, because it's like I believe so much in spirit of the game, and sometimes it gets I won't say cheating, it's a different spirit.
Yeah.
You're coming from a different mentality, a different a
and
sport.
Spirit of the game is so hard. Like, it's not an easy
Right.
thing to do. I mean, this is kind of funny, but I used to practice Spirit of the game by driving in my car and trying not to get enraged by other drivers. And that's so hard. Like, it's so hard to not assume that you are always in the right and the other drivers are always in the wrong. And so being able to take that, like, if someone cuts you off or, you know, whatever happens, taking a breath and saying, you know what was their perspective on this?
That's great. That's terrific.
And was it like, maybe they just didn't see me,
Right.
or maybe like they were really just trying to get into the lane and they thought I had slowed down to let them in. And like, that in of itself is super hard. And so trying to do that on a field when it's like you want to win and, you know, you're playing at your hardest and your heart's racing and you've gotten your adrenaline dump, like, is even more crazy. And the fact that it is so successful means that this sport is even more special. And it's even more important to make sure that, like, everyone reminds themselves, like, oh yeah, okay, this is a game. We're all here to have fun and enjoy each other. And the only way that that works is if you buy into Spirit of the Game.
Sure. And to take it to another level, I think it empowers players that don't normally have a voice to step up and talk about it and be heard.
Yeah.
And I like when you're in a situation as a coach and you're watching it play out. I'm like, no, you want to jump in. You know, no, let it play out. And it's a beautiful thing when it plays out. If they say, you know, we're going to send it back. We're going to agree to disagree, but it comes out. It's all spirit. It's on a high level.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing when it plays out.
And that's what happened at Nationals this past weekend. I was blown away by how spirited and wonderful people were this weekend. Like, even at the highest level of competition, everyone's vying for, you know, the gold medal around their neck. But there were people who, you know, after a breath, they're like, oh, you know what, I'll take back that call. Or like, hey, you know what, we'll just send it back.
Very good. Very
civilized, very wonderful. And like that, you know, and you see that at every level, and you see that especially at the elite level. If you want to make an elite team, you have to be, you have to abide by Spirit of the Game, and you have to be a good teammate and a good opponent.
So let me ask you this. What always confuses me when I play in a tournament and you have spirit scores, my misinterpretation or a facet of Spirit of the Game is you're making spirited calls, but there's other facets of Spirit of the Game that I don't know about. So what is your view when you're scoring a team with high spirit scores?
Rules knowledge, I can't remember the last one, but those different categories, so they can really assess and figure out, okay, well, this team did this well and this team didn't do this well, but, you know, overall I had a good experience. So, you know, I like the fact that it's more complicated measuring it that way, especially in different categories, and it takes a longer time, but it really makes you self-reflect and figure out, how was this game, and what can teams do better, which is what we all want, is to do better next time. Right.
And I was very intimidated by that, going, wow, what is this? What is going on? Because I thought it was just simple, and it's very complex, and there's more voices in this. It's just simply not just my shallow learning. So this is very fascinating to get people's view about that, especially at the national level, going, they take it very seriously.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Spirit of the Game, when you're talking to players about Spirit of the Game and you're having them embrace, is it simply just having them embrace, make a call, and that's where it starts? Or is there other layers to that, other nuances you teach them?
One of the first things that I teach kids is actually best perspective. I think it's a really valuable tool to be able to look at the field and figure out who had the best view of the play.
Very good. Yep.
And we did this in our summer camps last year, and the kids like did a really good, instead of just being like, I was in, or, you know, that was out of bounds or whatever, kids then took a pause and were like, oh, okay, well, he was closest to the disc, but she may have seen his feet better. And like, it's a conversation versus an accusation.
That's great. That's awesome. Yes, it's a conversation over an accusation, and that elevates the conversation on a more mature level. Yeah. That can be brought outside the game on that one. Yes. Yeah. Very cool.
And I mean, the other big thing is spirit circles and being able to finish the game and talk with each other and even bring up some issues, be like, hey, there was a lot of foul calls in the first half, but I love how we adjusted and made sure that we were playing honest in the second half. So I think those are really great ways to be able to self-reflect and again, have a conversation.
Yeah, that's great. So now, what is the challenge of what you're doing? Let's just talk about gender equity.
Yeah.
It's big. Mm-hmm. It's important.
Yeah.
It's an exciting topic. I mean, that's why I like to play mixed, because it really brings, I understand why there's more and more women's team. I like to play mixed because I like the nuance of it, but I see the challenge from a female perspective that there's things lacking in the puzzle. Yeah. That's definitely answered with a women's game. So let's speak about gender equity.
Yeah. Hannah Kawai has a really good quote about women in mixed versus women's, or especially with girls. And she says, mixed is great for boys, it's not great for girls.
Wow.
And boys really learn how to play with their friends and their girlfriends on the field and figure it out. And for girls, it can sometimes be rough to have a voice and be a leader on the team and feel like you're contributing. And for me especially, it's really important for us to amplify voices that aren't necessarily being heard. And a big piece of that is there are still the women's game and the mixed game are not being heard as much. Right. Especially with pro leagues being all men with the exception of Jesse Schaffner. There's just a lot of noise, good noise. By the way,
who is Jesse Schaffner?
Jesse Schaffner is a phenomenal player, just an absolute powerhouse of a player who was the first female player to be signed by a pro team.
Yes. Okay. So like the Nighthawks? I'm trying to think of this. Okay.
Yeah.
Good deal. Yeah.
Which is great. I mean, it's fantastic, and it's phenomenal to watch her play, and she's scored the first goal, and that's such a wonderful experience. But there's still there's a lot of noise. No, that's fine. There's a lot of noise, which is good. It's good noise about the sport, but it's not necessarily the full spectrum of noise that we want to hear. And so I want to make sure that we amplify the noise and the voices that need to be heard, and a large part of that is women's and mixed.
Hannah Kawai has a great organization. I forgot, it'll lose me right now. Yeah, Age Up. Yeah. Wonderful. I met her during the coaches clinic, and she had that presentation, and it was really cool.
Yeah.
And she did great during the Cascades Cup too.
Yeah.
And she was balling hard. It was great. So you said something about, I want to see, if I can see it, I can be it.
Yes.
And so what did you mean by that? That was a great quote.
It is a great quote. It's not my quote, but I steal great things from other people. It basically means if you can see yourself in someone, it's easier for you to then believe that you can become that. So for me, when I first started playing Ultimate, that was back in the day when there was college mixed, and I was basically put in the middle of the stack, and I was a wing in zone, and that was my role. I stood out of the way and was told, don't make a play, just sit there and sort of wait for things to happen. I'm sure a part of that was my complete inability to play and catch, but, a part of that was I was the girl and I got shoved in the middle of things. But there was our female captain, who was an absolute baller. She would lay out D everyone. She fought so hard. Her work ethic was insane. She played super well, and she's also short like me. And I was just like, oh my God, I can be her. If I get good enough and I work hard enough and I try hard enough, I will hopefully one day be her. Yeah. And it's the same with, you see coaches.
And you're a very smooth player, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
I mentioned it. After one showcase game, I'm like, I'm just taking notes. Anyway, so please.
Oh, thank you. It's the same with coaching.
Yeah.
Like Liz Penny, who coaches Fab, I got a chance to see her and play with her on Barrio for a year, and I was like, oh man, you can be that type of leader as a woman on a mixed team. Like, I want to be that. Okay, that's possible. Yeah. And so hopefully there are more women in leadership that now girls who are new to the sport can say, oh, cool, I see you. I can totally be you in 5-10 years.
So what needs to happen more? So let me talk from the guy trying not to be the caveman, recently chipped out of a glacier. So what needs to happen? What needs to happen to advance the cause? More women's team, is that the solution?
The big solution that I'm pushing for is we need more women in leadership roles. We need more female coaches. We need more female captains of all teams, women's and mixed. We need female coaches on open teams. We need more female TDs and female observers and more resources and an opportunity to have our voices heard on social media, on highlight reels, live stream games, and then be able at the grassroots level to have more women be a part of the conversation and to lead the charge of this is where the sport should be going.
Yeah. And that's what makes the sport so cool.
Yeah.
I play coming from basketball. Rarely, if ever, there was a woman playing in the game on the team or anything.
Yeah.
And ultimate, it's like, this is cool. This is great. We have women here and they're balling. We got a great game. And it's so cool. And it's just very interesting when you step back. And this is, again, what makes the sport so cool. Yeah. I like this, to even be able to have this discussion. Because rarely, and I'm talking generalities, you're not having this level of discussion with the NBA. They've got WNBA, but you're not talking about, they're just talking about bringing a woman referee. Yeah. That's the integration of it. But bringing women into the topic to play high-level ultimate, that's an awesome discussion. I like that. So if I'm coaching, I coach mixed team, what should I be aware of? What can I do to advance the cause?
The big thing is to help with recruitment and find more women who can help out. So there's a couple things. One is try and get a co-coach who's a woman. Good. The other thing is try and elect one of your female players to be captain. And the other thing is to tell all of your male players to find their girlfriends, girls who are friends, to come and show up. And be like, hey, invite your friend, and now half your team is women.
That's great.
And encourage them to stay and really be open and honest and vocal with what their needs are and be able to help them. And it's a little bit easier having a female coach to do that. There's sort of a natural connection that we have, but not impossible with male coaches either. But recruitment and retainment are huge. And so it's trying to find that balance. And there are some great coaches who do a phenomenal job at that. Like Maddie Sang does a great job of recruiting and retaining female players. Joe and Julie Barr have done a great job at El Cerrito High School. Jeff has done a great job at Turlock. Like, there's examples out there that we can take of how you get more girls to play.
So you wrote an article on that.
Yeah.
So can you seed in some of your rationale? What's the secret to bring in and retain?
Secret for bringing there is not one rule. Every system, every team, every community is going to be slightly different, and I guess maybe if there is a blanket rule is don't stop. Just because you fail at one thing, don't stop doing it. Don't, it's going to be hard, it's going to be difficult, there's going to be trying times, you're going to fail over and over again. Don't stop. Don't stop recruiting, don't stop retaining, don't stop pushing to try and get the community that you want to see, get the team that you want to see. And hopefully, and I'm really sure that it will work out.
So let me ask you this. So from a coaching standpoint, how important it is, if you're coaching high school players, to have them construct the Constitution or the bylaws or the mission statement for the team and have both voices heard?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I coach the YCC U17 Girls team, and I want to make sure it's as a coach, I tell them it's not my team, it's your team. And you're the one you guys are the ones putting together the team and the structure, and
right.
It's important that it's the ownership belongs to you, not to me. Yeah. So I think it's really powerful and really important for players to have a voice and have a leadership voice. And Lou Burris talks a lot about this with Oregon, talking about the clown tent. The U17 girls team has sort of renamed it as the circus tent, but everyone having a leadership role and having a purpose, that it's like, oh, this is my job on the team, and I am not replaceable because this is the thing that I do and no one else does it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So how's it going with the your U17 team?
It's going great. Yeah. I am so proud of them. They are doing so well, and our practices have been going really well. Unfortunately, I haven't been to the last two just because of, I was at Revolution last weekend and Nationals this weekend.
Did I see you on one of your last practices at Bushrod a couple weeks ago?
That was a fab pod workout.
Was that a fab pod?
Yeah, it was
okay.
a fab. I do a lot all over the place. But yeah, they're really strong. They're very strong, and I'm really excited to see how we do in 2 weeks. I have full faith that we can make some noise.
That's great. That's very exciting. I was very excited. So, what are you doing? Anything unique for them that you would do differently for something else? What little magic are you being able to sort of put your thumbprint that you're really proud of?
Our offense is really cool, and I'm really excited about it. I looked at the strengths of all of our players, and I built our offense around them. I'm not going to disclose it, just in case. No, not at all. Yeah. But yeah, I'm proud of our offense, and I'm proud of myself and Julie Barr, who's the other head coach, of really making sure that they feel comfortable coming to us and talking with us and forming the season together. So that's really important, and I can already see how well it's being shaped and molded by the players themselves. Right. And that's an incredibly amazing thing.
So Julie's helping you out on the U17 front, and then Joe's helping.
Joe's with the U20 boys.
Yeah, great, fantastic, in good hands. That's
yes,
awesome.
very capable hands.
Very capable, awesome. So let's talk about the challenges of gender equality, or sort of moving out and expanding the base into urban areas or low-income areas. Mm-hmm. If I'm saying that correctly, where's the challenges there? We were talking a little bit about it.
Yeah, the challenges are resources, of course, and accessibility. As much as we say this sport is, you can just play it with a $10 piece of plastic, the reality is you spend thousands and thousands of dollars to play at an elite level. One of the years that I played for Bari and we went to nationals, I probably spent a couple grand in a summer. Wow. Between nationals and traveling to elite level tournaments and equipment and field space and all of these things. And so the reality is it's not a $10 game.
So that's the barrier of entry.
And that's the barrier of entry, and it's so important that that Bay Area Disc has the capability of providing financial aid to kids and saying, you know what, accessibility will never be a barrier. If you can't pay for something, that will never be, that will never stop you from playing. And that's so important to me and to, our executive director, Mike McGurk, because we want to make sure that everyone who wants to play the sport can play the sport.
So how does that look at? Is there an immediate initiative? There's a long-term initiative? Because that sounds great, but what steps are happening to sort of move the needle in that direction?
Yeah, it's definitely, we have a couple pronged approach to it. One of the things is our Learn to Play programs, going and reaching out to schools that may not have access to the sport and teaching them that. Organizations like Rocky Beach's Ultimate Impact is doing that in South San Francisco.
That's nice.
And then, of course, being able to fundraise and generate money to basically just hand back to players that need financial aid. Yeah. So that's the big thing, and always needing money to help support the kids that need it most.
No, of course, and that was pretty cool when you hear that. So, but you did something that was like creating the next Ultimate Leaders.
Yes, I did.
So that's sort of like an extension of a little bit of what we're talking about. But what was that like? Explain, because you wrote an article about that experience. You were working with Satish Raj,
yes,
Maggie Rudin, and Rocky Beach.
I did, yeah. I have a wonderful friend, Nicole Newmiller, who has coached in Seattle, and she also helped coach the U17 Girls team for the past 2 years. She works for East Bay Innovation Academy, and they have this really cool school schedule where they have a week of, it's an intersession week, and she invited Bay Area, myself and essentially representing Bay Area Disc to come in and do a week-long ultimate program. And so we decided to focus on the leadership aspect of it and get a whole bunch of middle school boys and girls to learn the sport, understand spirit of the game, talk about the current issues like gender equity and diversity and accessibility, and spirit of the game, and then be able to go out and run their own clinic for 200 kids, which was amazing to see, the 20 middle schoolers I had run their own clinic.
That was cool.
Which was awesome to see. And so it's things like that where they're starting to learn more than just, the rules and the strategy of the game, but also think about these big picture things of where do we want the sport to go, because it's young enough that we have the ability to make sure it goes in the right direction and stays in the right direction of being spirited and inclusive and accessible, and welcoming for everyone.
So this came, you didn't pursue that, they came to you.
Yes, Nicole came to me and asked me to do something. Yeah,
that was really cool. Is this something that's going to happen again?
I hope
was
so.
a one-off? I mean, it's kind of like, I'm going to be talking with Rocky Beach in a couple weeks, but it's one of these things that I thought was really cool. I hope that opportunity happens again. So I didn't know if there was a wait and see, or if there's.
Yeah, it was really successful, and I think we are planning to do it next year, so long as everything works out. Sure. And we're also running our own Girls Ultimate Revolution Leadership Series. We did a pilot program last year which brought girls together to work on leadership skills and make sure that we were listening to them and being able to help the Girls Ultimate program thrive and be successful. And that was a phenomenal I was so lucky to be a part of it, and Sam Salvia was also a huge resource and valuable asset to the program, and that's something that we want to continue every year. Great. Building more and more girls in leadership positions. So things like the EBIA, Next Ultimate Leaders, and the Girls Leadership Series is really important.
Yeah, that was an exciting article, and it looked very promising.
Yeah,
especially in light with Rocky Beach doing what he was doing.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, this is really starting to get some traction. So that's exciting. So let's talk about where do you see, Barry Disc going? What would you like to, if you could wave a wand, what would you like to see? Yes.
Oh gosh, that's a tough question, but an important question.
So let's talk about this. A 1 year, 5 year sort of situation.
1 year, 5 year thing. I would really love to see the growth and development even more so of Youth Ultimate, getting more and more kids to play. I want to see more and more girls play. I want us to be a powerhouse in the nation of this is an exemplary example of how you should run a grassroots organization in your local area to build and create more ultimate opportunities for people to play. And
right.
We have our mission statement for the next 3 to 5 years of, Bay Area Disc should be the hub of ultimate. We are the, a special example of spirit of the game. We are at the forefront of gender equity, and I know that we can do that in the next 3 to 5 years, and I'm really excited to see how we get there.
Great, fantastic. So that was one statement that covered 1 and 5 years, all in one statement.
All in one statement.
Okay,
yeah.
Well, good. Okay, so I'm looking at my phone. I don't want this to die. We're having a great conversation. So we have like 4 people online. I think we had up to 7 people. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi. I want to say hi to my Aunt Tyrene, taking a break from drinking her box wine to join us. Hi. So let's talk about some of these nice articles you've written from Sky. And what was some of the more satisfying articles? What was one of the ones that you're really proud of?
I'm especially proud of the Sorry article about how girls don't need to say sorry because they say, and I do this too. I say sorry for things I don't need to say sorry for. Yeah. A guy bumps into me in the subway and I say sorry. Yeah. Like, why would I need to do that? So it's ingrained in our culture that we have to be apologetic, and I would love to, and I've been trying really hard myself to not do that. But it was an incredibly popular piece, and I was really, really proud of the fact that people took my idea and ran with it and shared it and wanted other people to read it. So I was really proud of that. And I was also really proud of the Becoming a Better Teammate article, because I got a chance to talk about my friends and how much I love them and how much they have helped me grow as a player, and being able to reflect on some of my favorite people that I play Ultimate with and talk about why they make me better and why they make this sport better.
If you get a chance to go to Skyd Magazine, they're very thoughtful articles over the course of, 3 years? 4 years? I mean, you had a blog before that.
I had a blog before that. I think it was over 2 years, but I don't remember. All the years blend together. So
No, but they're very thoughtful articles, and they're coming from the heart. And I encourage you, if you're recovering from injury, or you're trying to understand how to be a better teammate or how to warm up before a game, how to play at the next level, when she was trying to attempt to make Fury very insightful. And these are things that are great to share. And I'm glad Skyd Magazine gave you the opportunity, the forum, to write those articles. So, anything else you want to add?
No, I mean, this was super fun. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me about stuff I'm passionate about. Like, that's really cool.
And that's why. I mean, this is why I do this, because of the passionate people that are around the Bay Area and outside the Bay Area that really move the needle on Ultimate Frisbee beyond just simply playing it between the lines. There's a lot of stuff that makes this a really important sport. And there's a lot of things that form, especially the youth coming up, really make them solid citizens because of what they learn from people like here. All right, this fine coach, this fine player, this fine person. So I'm going to say goodbye before my phone runs out. I want to say thank you, my guest, Jenn Pashley.
Oh, thanks.
Lawrence McKendall for Scooberlicious Ultimate. We're coming back in a couple days talking about parents of Ultimate Frisbee players coming up to the league. I think it's going to be an interesting conversation, and I'm curious to see what happens. It's sort of an experiment, but I'm curious to see what happens. So out. We'll see you down the road. Scooberlicious Ultimate. And actually, Sports Basement, I want to say thank you for being such a kind host. And come on down. They've got great Ultimate Frisbee gear and Frisbee golf. And on that note, we'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.